What's up, gamers, and welcome to a late video talking about the new DP client event. So the reason why this video is so late is because the event started on the day that Set 6 released, which you've seen has been literally all my uploads recently. And the day after that I left for a holiday trip to Osaka with our group of 5 friends here from Tokyo, and it's the first time I've been on holiday since the pandemic started, and I felt like I deserved to have a holiday. Please understand. But all that aside, basically the timing just didn't work out. I didn't have my PC, so I couldn't record 0 videos, and I still wanted to cover the cards in the client event because I think they're actually pretty cool, and of course go over the contents and stuff like that as usual. I know this video will bomb and do terribly, but you guys asked for the video too, so, you know, I'm just here to provide so you guys know what the cards are actually in the client event. So we're gonna go through all of the cards, and then, of course, you know, that's gonna be it. No fights this time, because, of course, the client event is already over, and you can see what I exchanged for. So 1x lead, I think, is actually enough. This time the GR is definitely not that necessary, and I think 1 is the right spot. It's just your first stride now. So X lead says, burst once per turn when the attack hits a Vanguard. If his power is 35k or greater, you draw 1, and if it's 40k or greater, then you choose a rearguard and stand it, which works nicely with Laurel, so that's a good effect. And then Vanguard Circle once per turn, you flip a unit face up, and then choose any number of your rearguards and rest them, and for that turn, for every unit you rested for this cost, you choose that many rearguards and give them plus 4k. So you can, for example, rest, like, you have quite a few cards in Cosmic Heroes that you, like, give them plus 4k and then they pass that plus 4k to the Vanguard. So there's like the starter, there's the grand sub, the grade 2 that can like give the retire effect and things like that. So you can kind of use that with this, but honestly just a good first strike to flip X gallop with, and also get a potential Laurel in as well, because you can basically use the effect, just like rest virtually anything, like it can be the starter, and then just give, or like rest something on the left to give power to the starter to make sure you hit that 40k plus, and then you basically just like swing with the rear, and then hit with this, and then stand something, and then hit it again. Or you can basically try to make a Laurel still, but then it's going to be hard to boost with the Vanguard unless you play stands in the main deck, and then you kind of have to sack. But it's just good for setting up first strike. You don't want to be pushing too much damage anyway, because X Gallop needs to be doing the work later on. This kind of event also helped to support a lot of other builds. So for example, Dimensional Robos got the Dimax finally, and pun not intended there. Dimax is a really good card. I even picked up 2 SPs because I really love his art, and I had an SP of him in TCG back in the day too. It's a really expensive SP because he's drawn by Obari Sensei. So once per turn, if your heart is a Dimensional Robo, you can G Persona Blast to give him plus 10k, and if you have 2 or more face-up cards in the G-Zone, gets a crit, and if you have 4 more face-up cards in the G-Zone, then all of your front row Dimensional Robos get plus 5k and plus 1 crits. So if you play stands, which you can, of course, in this build, but although in Dimensional Robos, I feel like you still need draws, like drawing to all your pieces. It doesn't plus as much as Cosmic Heroes, but you can basically have this like spread out crit, which I think is pretty cool, or you can just have 3 crit on the Vanguard, which is kind of nice. You can like damage the 9 and stuff like that. So I don't think it's as good of a stride as it was in the TCG, but still a cool stride, and an art I really like, so I personally picked up a lot of copies of it. And then we have the Gyruto Diga in Metalborgs. So when you stride it, you flip a Metalborg unit face up, so it can be either himself or a Heavy Duke, and then he does the following depending on how many hearts you have. So if you have 2 hearts, he gets plus 20k in a crit, but if you have 1 heart only and it's a Metalborg with the Legion ability, you search your deck for its Legion mate, Legion them up, and then draw 1. So this actually is a good stride because you can basically ride up going second, stride, and then this will just Legion for you and you get a draw out of it. So that way you still get the stride turn to get the triple drive in, which I think is pretty good. We have Commander Laurel D, which isn't as good in, I mean, this wasn't a good card in TCG either, but he's definitely not too great in Zero because of the way that the card is designed in the first place. So it's a 4k power stride, which is the only one of its kind, and he has burst if his power is 20k or greater, so I have to buff him by 16k. Well, actually not by 16k actually, because you already have 15k by just striding, and then Gallop will push it to 20. If you have 20k power, you rest 4 rear guards to give itself the skill that says, once per turn Vanguard Circle, when the attack hits a Vanguard, you stand this unit. Siri, not you. I don't stand you, I stand Laurel D. So it's pretty cool. You just set that up by striding over Gallop, and then you rest 4 rear guards and he attacks, and then he hits, and he stands and attacks again. And if you play stands, of course, you can do some stuff. You can combine this with OG Laurel to like rest 4 rears, swing with it, and then basically check a bunch of check 3 stands, I guess, from the, not the first attack, like including the 6 drive checks that you do. If you check 3 stands, you can theoretically proc a grade 1 Laurel after that and then hit the Vanguard again. So, I mean, it's cool, but then this also means like you have to like rest 4 rears and then overcall 2 front rows to hit into the rears in the first place, into the intercepts, and then swing with him in order to restand and then still proc Laurel. Like, it's a lot of setup. And if his power is 25k or greater, he also gets this skill, which is at the end of the battle, you attack the Vanguard. If during this turn this unit has not stood by any means, then you choose 4 rearguards and stand them. So, you know, it's okay, I guess. It's alright. It's an interesting setup strat. I think it does have some potential because of how you can manipulate these effects. So you can kind of like swing with this, and then, you know, if it gets PG'd or just guarded, you can then restand your board and then swing with them, and it's cool, I guess, but it doesn't feel that good compared to just like X Gallop. Speaking of Gallop, we have the new grade 3 Gallop, which will only get better with time. He says GB3 burst when your Vanguard attacks. If your Vanguard's power is 30k or greater, then for that turn, this unit gets plus 4k, so it's a 15k attacker. And if your Vanguard's power is 60k or greater, he gets a crit. So you're not going to be really getting to 60k outside of like X Tiger right now, but when the Bravest Peak X Gallop comes out in the next wave of DP support, then this will become more achievable and this will become a better card. I think it's right now you may mostly play it for these skills, which is first, beginning of right phase. If your hand is 2 or less, then you stride for free for that turn, which is good if you know, just like barely survive the turn. And then of course, when you stride over it, counter +1 to give you Vanguard plus 4k, and if that Vanguard has the burst ability, then you countercharge 1 and get another plus 4k. So it technically gives more power than the original Gallop, but then you lose out on the draw skill that Gallop had, which can be nice when you start running low on hand, and as usual, plus 3k when you ride it. So it's a good card. Definitely think you won 4. Like, overall, you won 1 X lead. I'd say 4 Dynamaxes. 2 is okay, but I would say 4. 2 Guild Tigers, then 2 Commander Laurel D, I would say, and then 4 Grand Gallops, I think. 4 Grand Gallop is the right amount. And then we have the PG, which is also 4 of Enigma and Calm. Enigma and Calm is a PG just like normal. And then in the drop zone on GB2 and with Burst, when your Burst ability possessing Vanguard finishes their battle, if the power was 40k or greater of that unit, then you Soul Blast 1, Calm 1 to bounce this back from drop zone to hand and then discard 1. So it got a nerf from the TCG. This used to be generic, or it is generic in the TCG, and it doesn't need to discard anything, but of course that might be a bit too good for 0, and it only works with Burst ability Vanguard, so you will not be putting this into like Dimensional Robos and Metalborgs and stuff like that. But I think for Cosmic Heroes it is a pretty good PG because you do have a new countercharger that can kind of make use of the fact that you don't actually countercharge with this PG, and so you have to cut out the countercharging PGs. So I'm trying it out. I'm not sure if it's going to be better or not, but I'm trying it out. Then we have Enigman Gigastorm on Vanguard Circle Soul, and in the deck this card is regarded as Enigman Storm. And GB2 Vanguard Circle Burst, when this unit attacks, if the beginning of battle step power was 15k or greater, you soul charge 1, and if it's 20k or greater, then all of your front row Enigmans get plus 4k. So not exactly the best part. And then when the attack hits, you count +1, Soul Blast 1, and then choose one of your Enigman rearguards and increase its power by this unit's power at the time. So again, not really the kind of support that would bring the deck back or make it super good. We have Enigman Sirocco as well. When it attacks, if your Vanguard is a grade 3 Enigman, not grade 3 or greater, if its power is 10k or greater, Soul Blast 1, and then this unit gets plus 2k. And then if your Vanguard's power is 15k or greater, then you choose to put its rearguard and it cannot intercept. So yeah, the intercept ceiling ability is nice, but that's about it. But the good Enigman is Enigman Blung. So this is GB2, beginning of your battle phase on rearguard circle, you can put it to Soul to countercharge 1. Just like that. Like, no requirements, just slide in Soul, countercharge. So you can like rest it for a cost during your main phase, and then just slide into the Soul, and then it'll, you know, just give you a countercharge before you like counterblast for your abilities and stuff like that. And then in the Soul and Burst, if your Vanguard has the Burst ability, if your power is 10k or greater, you can put this to drop zone to give the Vanguard plus 4k, and if the power is 35k or greater, it gets another plus 4k. So if you need that extra like 8k damage pump to like, you know, hit certain thresholds, it's pretty good for that. Then we have another Metalborg support, the Jetto Saida. So Jet Cider. When placed on rear, Soul Blast 1, look at top 4 cards of your deck and find a Legion ability possessing card and add it to your hand, and then put the rest of the drop zone. So it's kind of like those Witch supports where you just kind of like find a card / set up your drop zone for Legion, which is pretty cool. We have Enigman Mega Current, which is a GB1 rearguard circle effect. When placed, if Vanguard is 15k or more power, for that turn gets plus 4k, and if it's 20 or more, then your Vanguard gets the following ability. When this unit attacks, count +1, and then give this unit +4k. No. Just, no. This card is actually okay, though. Grand Smasher. GB1, when attacks the Vanguard, gets +4k on both Vanguard and Rearguard circles, and then on Rearguard circle, if it's, during this turn, if your Vanguard's power is 15k or greater, it gets 4k, and if it's 35k or greater, this unit attacks while ignoring intercept, which is pretty good. That is actually pretty decent, I think, for finishing games, so decent rare to pick up, I would say. And then we have Enigman Helm. Enigman Helm says GB2 burst when placed on rear. This card was pretty good in TCG, it's not that great in Zero though. If your Vanguard's power is 15k or greater, for that turn gets 4k, and if it's 30k or greater, then gives the Vanguard the following ability. When this Vanguard attacks the opponent's Vanguard, for that battle your opponent cannot guard with grade 0. So, thing is, right, it's a cool guard restrict, but I feel like the DP Vanguard power is already so huge that like grade 0s aren't coming out anyway. Like they're usually losing before they can activate a grade 0. Then we have the Dairezon. Dairezon is a dimensional robo that says for each of your face-up dimensional robos in the G zone gets +2k, and then on both players' turns, if your Vanguard is a Dayusha, gets +2k, and if your Vanguard is a Daikaiser, gets +2k. So in the Legion build, this is a 13k intercept, which is not too shabby. Not too shabby whatsoever. Then we have the Burakinbaro, which is the Metalborg grade 2. On both players' turns, if Vanguard is a Metalborg within the Legion state, gets +2k power, 11k intercept. And then, if your Vanguard is Metalborg and it attacks, you count +1, and for that turn, you increase your Vanguard's power by this unit's power at the time, and then you put him to Soul, which is okay. Clears off intercept off the field, which is not great. Then we have two starters. One is the Enigman Zephyr. At the start of your battle phase, count +1 to bounce it back to hand, and then GB1 burst when placed on rear. If Vanguard's power is 10k or greater, then gets +4k, and if it's 30k or greater, then your Vanguard gets +4k, which is not too great, honestly. And then we have, I can't click on it, which is the Die Hawk, but I can tell you already what the effect is. It's basically you put 4-dimensional police rearguards into, you put 4-dimensional robo rearguards into your soul, and then you choose, if your Vanguard is grade 3, you choose a dimensional unit and stride it. So you can do this even when your opponent's on grade 2, which is pretty good. I actually quite like it. I think it will see some play, and I'm excited to test out with D-Robos a bit in 0-2. We have the, the Cosmic Hero Support Grade 2. Start of main phase, if your Vanguard is 10k or greater, count +1 to give the Vanguard +4k, and then if your Vanguard's power is 30k or greater, then get another +4k to this unit on GB1, and then Soul +1 for that turn. You increase your burst ability possessing Vanguard's power by a certain amount, which is this unit's power at that time, and then retire this unit. So don't think it's that good. You lose an intercept, which is not great. And then finally we have the Enigman Swirl. GB1, when it boosts a burst ability possessing card, it gets +2k for that battle. Nothing to write home about. And then we have some really nice sleeves this time, X-Lead as well as Final Dimax. I'm a big fan of those. So yes, definitely you want to pick those up, and then some packed as usual. So that's basically everything. I think there's not really too much to write home about, I would say. I'll pick up a couple SPs, I guess. I have just enough for 2 SP rares, which gives me some materials back, I guess, because, you know, that's better use these coins for something. So yeah, that's how I basically traded rares, and like commons I always craft, rares I always get 4 of each, and then double rares kind of depends on what's good and what's not. The bad ones usually skip, but I think this time all the double rares are like at least decent, so I picked up 4 of everything, and then 4 PGs, 4 Gallops, 2 Laurel Ds, 2 of the Metalwork Stride, 4 Dimaxes, and then 1 of the GR is my recommended amount. So that's it. That is the clan event. So very late overview, so this video is definitely not for the JP players. It is for the global players that will have this event eventually, for those of you that want to know the contents of it, and whether, like, which cards you should trade for and which ones you can have less of. So more Zero content coming up soon. Sorry it's been a bit slow lately because I've been on holiday. I know some people have been quite uneasy, I guess, with the lack of Zero content lately, but don't worry, there is more coming. And as always, thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, give it a like, and if you haven't already, please do subscribe. But otherwise, that's gonna be it for me today, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.